communities or areas, then replaced by NDDC. Has the Niger Delta developed? And when you speak of development, you're talking about regeneration of local economies, improvement of community relations, greater governance structures, better youth development, a sense of community engagement. Has that manifested in that region? So let's not start lamenting over not getting something when those who have got it have nothing to show for it. And I say this with every sense of responsibility. That's number one. Number two, I agree that it should have come much earlier. The Southeast, particularly the mainland 5 states, devastated by the Civil War, that's where the first commission should have been put in place. But these are not the times for lamentation. So here it is now. The question for me is, what are we going to do with it? It is a development commission. That means it has to pay attention to things that lead to genuine development. But let me restrict myself to answering your first question, which is, Prof, do you think it's coming too early or too late? And I've answered you, none of the above. It has come. It is for us to work out what to do with it and probably create a precedent that those who got it before us will be asking themselves, oh, is this what development commissions are meant to do? So that's my initial response to that first question.
To the leadership of the commission, because the commission will not act on its own. You know, the paper establishing the commission will not go to work. People will have to get to work. And Mark Okoye has that responsibility, being the main man there, and a host of other people, Emeka Nwogu, and the likes of Ugabala, they're all there. So, but let's take a look at Mark Okoye. Until this recent appointment, was the MD, CEO, and SIPA, Anambra State.
Yes.
And before then, I think he was in budget on economic planning in that direction. And it looks like, despite him being so young, he looks to be, he seems to understand the subject. But then, if you also look at the Niger Delta Development Commission, people have been appointed and they really look the part. So for a Mark Okoye stepping in now, what should he be doing? What kind of things, if they scale through the Senate confirmation, what kind of things are they supposed to be paying attention to, Mark and his team?
Well, yes, Mark is young by contemporary standards in Nigerian politics. How old is he? Do you recall at the moment?
Yeah, I don't have that information, but I'll get it as we speak.
Okay, because he's been described as young, and I don't agree that he's young. Go back 30 years ago, at his age, a lot of people were truly accomplished. What has happened is that the years of military rule has delayed the fulfillment of several generations, such that you now have at this time people who are in their 50s, late 50s, early 60s, prancing all over the place and displacing those who ought to be playing those roles. So without prejudice to the prevailing views and with all due respect, Mark is no young man. All those who are fulfilled. I started teaching in the university at the age of 20. At his age, you should know where you are. So let's not keep spreading this impression that anybody who is over 30 can be comfortably described as young in a nation with teeming human capital. Yeah.
Hello, Prof, are you there? So, so typically what this is about is that, yeah, he's young, but his age isn't the issue. And he also looks qualified for the part. He's been in and around planning and executing projects in the past. And he's not doing this alone. He's got people with some experience in governance too, the likes of Emeka Nwogu, the likes of Ugabala, and a few other people who will be in that particular, the board of that commission. So it really provides an opportunity for the Southeast to start looking to whether they can have a path to real economic revival. And of course, looking at some people are already saying this could potentially be a vehicle for rehabilitation and future transformation. And then the question will be, how will this be accomplished? That is when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
But why won't I be happy? Not just because it's festive season. It's moments of friendship and 60 million reasons to love. Small Pepe.
Babes, this dress is given.
Don't forget the earrings. Those are 2 reasons already.
The best reasons will make your heart beat faster. Come on! And make every laugh worth it. It's all about holding hands, sharing and enjoying happy times together.
Have more reasons to be happy with Niger dramas, football, and more smiles on DSTV this festive season. DSTV, your home of entertainment.
Southeast Business and Investment Summit Group, in collaboration with Southeast Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, and Enugu Economic City Development FZE, cordially invite the public to the maiden edition of Southeast Business and Investment Summit SEBIS. Theme: Remaking Southeast as Economic Powerhouse. Attending will be global business leaders, entrepreneurs, institutions from across the world, key government officials, and leading members of the academia. From December 11th to 13th, 2024, at Amadi Event Center, Enugu, by 9 a.m. each day. Opening ceremony to be chaired by His Majesty Igwe Nemeka Achebe Abogidi, Obi of Onitsha. Summit speech to be delivered by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General, World Trade Organization. Keynote speakers include Dr. Charles Odi, DG CEO Smedan, His Excellency Isaac Ken Parashina, Kenyan High Commissioner to Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, former President of Tanzania, Senator Eninaya Baribe, founder, Made in Aba Trade Fair. Over 2,000 investors, 500 women in business, 500 youth entrepreneurs are expected to participate at this historic event. Sponsored by Enyimba Economic City, Lion Business Park, Sesima, Abuja Chambers, among others. United Nigeria Airlines is official airline of the summit. Be there and take advantage of this rare global opportunity. Signed, Dr. Ifedi Okwena, Executive Secretary, Chief Ben Oranusi, Chairman, LOC for SEBIS.
Welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, a program that x-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. My name is Alex Obodo, and I still have on the line Professor Oke Ikechukwu, and he has rejoined us. Thank you so much, Prof. We're talking about, well, that age is nothing but a number. And of course, you've made the point that he's eminently qualified to be in the position. And I was asking you that, well, we have other people there. Ugabala is there, Emeka Nwogu is there, he's been around government, I'm sure you know him.
Yes, I do.
So, and a few other persons. So talk to us about how the lessons from the Niger Delta Development Commission would help the Southeast Development Commission to function as an efficient development organ.
Okay. First of all, the people chosen, I believe they were chosen. Mark has had enough experience to understand the environment, and he has functioned very well and survived among people of a much older generation. So I respect him for it, and I believe he will give a good account of himself. Now, the question of what lessons to draw from the Niger Delta, since this is a new commission, you don't make the mistake of somebody who has gone ahead of you. So the first thing I believe the Southeast Development Commission should do is to take time and study the political terrain. The commission has been set up as a development platform for the Southeast, but you can be sure that the political and economic elite in the region will see it as another means of drawing free funds through contracts that will be inflated and probably not executed, Also, let the commission leadership not be too idealistic. Let them not come and make a press conference and say, oh, we'll tolerate no nonsense. No. Take time and understand all the principal actors, understand their interests. When you understand their interests, you'll be able to disaggregate those who will be useful to the commission. It doesn't mean you alienate them, but you define your objectives very clearly. So if, for instance, I'm in a community where we are mostly fishermen, and pollution has ruined our waters, and we don't have a road to the community, you can come and construct a road for us. But in that community, there are 2 people who have cars and 9 people who have motorcycles, and you come and spend 800 million to build a road for us, you say it's development. It is not. If you spend less than half of that money to create water reticulation that will restore our rivers, will become fishing communities again, the local economies will be revived, people will have their means of livelihood without looking for trouble, etc. So that's the kind of inventory. Let them not rush out to announce within the next couple of weeks the projects they have. No. Let them take time. Question number 1. What is our mandate? Our mandate is to develop the Southeast. Number 2, what are the development challenges of the Southeast that we need to deal with? Number 3, what are the public projects we need to execute in terms of infrastructure? Number 4, how many of these public projects are actually privately designed projects by members of the elite who want to take contract? Because there's now a wrong conception of dividend of democracy. Number 5, they should not try to do any legacy project, which is another swindle. And I'll give an example. Let us suppose I'm a big political figure, maybe a senator, and I come back and tell my people, look, I want to give you a legacy project, and they give me land, and I build a statue, a life-size statue of a woman who is breastfeeding a child, and I say it symbolizes our love for each other, that we care. A mother doesn't kill her child, and all of that, and this thing is celebrated. They cut the tape, they make a fence around it, we even buy a generator, so in the night there'll be light on it. Now, that's my legacy project to my community. That statue has light in the night, but the community does not have light. And somehow the people are celebrating, oh, this is what the man brought for us. The Southeast Development Commission should restrain itself from spending 1 naira on anything that doesn't add value to the people. Not value as defined by the elite, but value as it will impact them. So let them take time, 1 month, 3 months, to get answers to these questions. Having gotten the answers, they should then take the next step. Should we execute any project that doesn't have a multiplier effect in the environment? If you're tarring a road, for instance, in Imo State, you don't have economic value limited to Imo State, it's a commission for the Southeast. So with that, they must develop that holistic template, understand the political interests that are likely to stand in their way, create synergy among stakeholders. Fortunately, you have Southeast, in the Southeast, every town has a town union president. Find a role for town union presidents. Find a role for traditional rulers. Not that you appoint them into positions or place them on salaries, but consultations with them is how you'll be able to tease out the core challenges of the average Igbo man in the Southeast. Look into issues of power, look into issues of male child education, which is declining, among so many other things. So development is the word, not constructions. If an orange develops, it produces an orange. If you take mango and go and mount it, mango fruit and mount it on a grown orange tree, that tree has not developed into a mango tree. You're just putting things together that will collapse over time. So I think, unfortunately, Mark, you say was I think it was Peter, was the first person who put him out.
No,
before.
It was Obiano.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
It was Obiano. At the time, he was 29.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
no, I guess, he was Obiano.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in any case, you can see that throughout that period, Mark kept his head. For a young man, he could have been posing all over the place, showing he has arrived. He demonstrated his intelligence in the things he did, not in his visibility. That means he will travel very far. That means older people like us should watch out for him, pray for him, and advise him. And he has a team that cannot afford to embarrass itself. I'll repeat again. The Southeast has no need to fail because it has the other commissions to look at. Let it also not follow the example of the Northeast Development Commission. That commission is only spending money and not developing the Northeast. Oh, mosquito nets, rice, food in refugee camps. As they're in refugee camps, their farms are abandoned. Desertification has taken over the land. If you now say you want to go and settle those people, it will take you 18 months to make that place the kind of land you can plant on. Our commission should not start spending money that you eat and it will go and say, oh, we're alleviating poverty. Thank you. Let them also not draw a list of poor families to be given monthly stipend. It's an indignity to the Igbo worldview to have a range of poor people who are collecting money. They are commissioned for an area where people take dignity in the outcome of their sweat. If I'm a vulcanizer, not even a vulcanizer, what do you call it? I grind pepper in the market, I want electricity. So those are the things to put into place. Organize the markets, get them to see a lot of things that are not being seen. So their work is cut out for them at 3 levels. Values. They must set new paradigms. Otherwise, if that platform is seen as another place for contracts when there's no government contract, we're already finished. There'll be no development. So right. Those are some of the things to worry about, yeah.
Great then. So one of the issues will be how will the Commission harness economic potential within the Southeast? And a few examples, a lot of comparisons as to how Southeast in terms of aggregate GDP and of course their population per capita can compare to countries like Ghana and Kenya. And when you look at that, the Southeast has the potential to rise higher than it is currently. I mean, if you take a cue from maybe 1960 to 1966, or you can take that from the late 50s to 1966, when the Southeast became a supersonic economy. Do you think that the two eras can be the same in a way if this commission gets it right?
It can be reenacted, but if you think back to those 2 eras, it was driven by focused and intelligent leadership. Men who understand the true meaning of development. When Okpara was setting up farm settlements, when Mbakwe was putting up palm, the other palms, I think, poultry and all of that, all those things are the things that lead to the emergence of wealth. So we have governors who no longer know the meaning of wealth creation, but who are good at expenditures. So if the commission looks at those eras and it wants to reenact it, it must ask 3 questions. Number 1, were Igbos not Igbos at that time? They were. Are Igbos any different today? No. What changed? At that time, you had responsible, organized leadership that defined projects and followed them systematically, not in order to be praised, but because that was the right thing to do. Can such a thing be done again now? Yes. Can it be done by the commission? Yes. Identify the projects per state. Operate with a sense of equity, namely, if you're going to spend 1 naira in state A, please make sure you balance it across the states. Then the 1 naira being spent, make sure it benefits the people, not just the elite. And then make sure that anybody who is given responsibility is somebody who has a sense of duty towards his people and towards his environment. Naturally, there will be a lot of facilitated infrastructure. The commission must begin with itself. The commission must ask itself, would every member have an SUV, bulletproof, complete with pilot? In other words, all of them, each of them having at least 8 cars? What kind of life are they going to be living? What will be their emoluments? What signals will they give out? That is what will determine whether they can do all of this. Emma Yobara created Obara Avenue in Umuahia. He didn't have a plot there. He set up farm settlements. He didn't create a private farm settlement for himself. Mbakwe created Lavam. did all the investments he did. Remember, they were all sold off later by subsequent people in leadership positions. And I make a distinction between leaders and people in leadership positions. They were also Igbos, some of them military, swagger and all of that, but no capacity for development. So it is quite possible that the commission may be the one to put some of our governors to shame by carrying out genuine development projects. Because what you see is governors are spending so much time announcing what they are doing. Is that how it works? The things we are saying about Jakonde of Lagos, Tafawa Balewa, Awo, Zik, is it because they made announcements? No, it's because they impacted lives. So if the commission impacts lives in the Southeast, that will be the story, that will be the conversation, that will be the reference, that will be what the people will say. Can they see what the commission is doing? So it will also be a demystification of the presumptions of those in elective office who treat public funds as private funds. So, and we should just pray that this commission does what the Southeast needs and set examples for other commissions all over the country.
All right, so now that you've mentioned sitting governors, the NDDC had a fair share of its challenges with some sitting governors within the South-South. I'm sure you are well aware of those. Some of them were well televised. You saw officials of NDDC actually, taking on sitting governors, sometimes ministers. It was really a very tough battle. So if this comes into place, a lot of people are already arguing that the egos of the governors around here might well be bruised, and they will be looking over their shoulders. Are these guys coming to do what exactly? What is it are they coming to do? So how do we create that balance?
Well, it will be difficult to create the balance because you have a lot of immature people in political positions. Listen, you're now in the commission and you begin to do a lot of projects. If governor says, oh, he's preparing for governorship, that's why he's doing this. So that's your first problem, So that suspicion is there. Secondly, is the governor actually that determines whether your CFO can be valid or not? So if you are loggerheads with the state governor, you could have challenges executing any meaningful project. Thirdly, and most importantly, which is probably one of the things I should have said at the beginning, I've never been a fan of development commissions at any point until today. But it has come to stay, and the whole issue about political and leadership realism is that when you have what you need to deal with, you deal with it. You don't go grumbling, oh, I wish it wasn't here. Now, I had argued in respect of NDDC. I've argued that on several television channels. I've written about it in newspapers, even outside the country. The money going into NDDC belongs to the people of the Niger Delta. Give it to their governors. They say, oh, Doc, Prof, the governors will embezzle it. A time will come when it will no longer be possible. So left to me, there should have been no commission. But since it's become a national, if you like, fad, so let each region has its commission. The other good thing is that there's now one administrative framework for all the commissions, given the scrapping of the Niger Delta Development Commission. So that is it. That will be there. So what Okoye and his team would need to do is to consult with the governors individually. Let them not make it the usual thing. Oh, we sent a delegation to the governor, then the chairman will get up and make a formal speech. The governor will read what somebody has written for him, which he hadn't seen before that morning. And after all that, nothing has taken place because they're all still in their cages, guarding their emotions, watching each other suspiciously and trying to know who will strike first. So my advice to them is that if among your team you have no person who is friendly with a particular governor called Okoye Ikechukwu, find somebody who is his friend, go and meet with him, tell him your intentions, tell him reach out to your friend, let's see where we can have a private meeting before a formal one. That's what leadership is about. A man whose ego is bigger than the national stadium, you don't approach him with a needle because he will fear that you'll puncture it. And most of them, their egos are slightly bigger than the moon itself. And you can't do anything about it. They are there. Therefore, you must find out to work with them. So that friction will be there. Already, I mean, by appointment, Mark is young. Some people will already be saying, look at this boy. He's building this kind of profile. These are the people we must watch and try to undermine. We shouldn't let him do so well because the youth will rally around him. You can't prevent somebody that God has put up from rising. So yes, that is likely to happen. Well, let them meet with the governors individually and ascertain from the governors what programs they would want them, which areas would you want us to intervene in, so that when we are going to do that, we'll talk with you. You probably put somebody on our team for monitoring. Now, if you create that synergy, the suspicion will be less, the fear will be less, the misgivings will be less, but they will always be there. It will just be a question of balance of terror between two platforms, each suspecting the other to be capable of undermining it.
So, to the 3 R's now: reconciliation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. We've heard this since 1970, and some people are saying that finally, maybe just finally, reconstruction and rehabilitation can now really happen. Do you believe that? Are you signing off on that? Are you ticking that box?
Now, what are you rehabilitating? What are you reconstructing? The place is already, it acquired a life of its own based on the sweat of the people. And since the Igbo worldview emphasizes individual effort, part of what the Commission might need to do is to find out what it can key into in the individual efforts of communities, organizations, etc. That's why I say it should adopt an unconventional approach. That Commission should convene. We do consultations with the state government, if you like, a retreat for all town union presidents. Invite them for 2 days, tell them what the commission is about, let them talk about the challenges in the area, not because they are going to tell you what to do, but because that fact of bringing them together to ventilate their understanding. Most of the time, you'll find is misunderstanding what the problems are, gives them a sense of importance. Also gives you as commission access to lower levels of power below the official structures of state. You identify from among some communities those that can be taken seriously to manage other communities. Then you move to youth leaders. There are youth leaders. And I'm talking like this because these are things we've done very successfully for states in the Southeast. And when you talk about youth leaders, not about youth leaders of political parties, you take youth leaders of political parties, youth leaders of various of all the communities, youth leaders of religious organizations, and then NGOs, all of that, you also do their own. So you're creating integration. You're having conversation. But when you restrict your engagement to the formal thing, we have come to bring development, we are building this road, everybody will clap and go home. Those who are criminals remain criminals because they're looking at you, well, yeah, this money they brought, some people shared it. It's not yet our turn. And they'll try to steal from those they believe have shared or kidnap them. Look, I'm talking about a commission that will end up being a values reorientation platform for the Southeast in respect of leadership, in respect of the use of public funds, in respect of service delivery, in respect of acknowledging what it means to develop as distinct from what it means to acquire materials and infrastructure. A fine suit cannot make a baboon a gentleman. So yeah, that friction will be there, but it's human. Navigating it is what makes you a success and a good leader.
So what do you consider to be the short-term interventions from the Southeast Development Commission? Yes, you've listed quite a few things, but on the short term, it needs to do something. It needs to hit the ground running. What are those things you expect to see between now and maybe June next year?
It shouldn't hit the ground running, it may injure itself. You should first of all look at the ground to be sure it's where you can land. If it isn't, level it. I will repeat, let them start with consultations. In the next 3 months, they shouldn't do anything. They shouldn't execute any project. They should move around consulting at various levels, graduating it. By the time they are done with consultation, they will have a list of priority projects as submitted to them. Then they set up an evaluation team to reprioritize and indicate. Having done that, they also refer to where it came from. Well, we heard from you said, well, this is what we are starting with. So if you look around the Southeast, you will discover that if you have a better network of roads, it will make a difference, particularly the big roads. The matter of security, I don't know what they are going to do about that because they are not the police, they are not anything of the sort. But I believe that interventions will have to be visible interventions. They, for instance, can think of, yes, the federal government is doing scholarship. Can they do that successfully? Can they think of intervention in schools? My take is that the first thing is to find out where to intervene. Should they deal with the erosion? In all of this, you have political heavyweights who believe that now that this has come, they don't need to pay attention to the state governor. There's enough billions in this place for us to be happy about. So short-term projects, do some key roads, particularly connecting local roads, connecting communities, so that they can get their farm produce out into the market. Second, they should streamline, they should consult with the state government and the market leaders to streamline market processes, to create a new culture in the markets in the Southeast such that police cannot come into the market to arrest anybody, but let the markets organize themselves, go and make presentations to the police. We have an elected leader, Mr. DPO. If there's any issue, reach our leader. Whoever you want, he will deliver him to you. But that people walk into the market, bundle up, is a recreation of the Southeast. Our governors have not been paying attention to all of that, and a lot of money is involved in it. But to mention some star projects, so when you do it, the Southeast will develop. No, you'll have infrastructure, but not development of the people. That's my concern. That's why my emphasis is on initial, detailed patient consultations, out of which they will distill what they need to do. If in the next 1 year they don't do anything dramatic, I am not bothered, my dear brother. It's not a question of what you did in the first 100 years in office, but what you did, what you left as a legacy after 4 or 8 years. So let's not rush that commission. The other commissions, I was here when the one for the Northeast was set up. They came, we held consultations and meetings and briefings with them and some of the things they needed to do. From the beginning, it was a disaster in the making because all the things on the table I could see were procurement related. Procurement cannot lead to development when what is being procured is to be consumed. So even if you spend $1 trillion, there will be no development because people eat it and it passes away. So no, I'm not giving any short-term star projects. I'm saying dig in. This is not 100 meters. It's a marathon. Develop the stamina for it. And the only way you can develop that stamina is to get a full picture of the spectrum of the issues you need to deal with, prioritize them, know the ones that will come first, and because you're in contact with the people, they won't be saying, oh, you're not doing anything. They will see the stage at which you are on each of the issues. That's my response to that question.
So, Professor Ikechukwu, is there a chance for too much expectations from the Southeast region? Because you see, now that they say you now have a development commission, do you think there could be that possibility that people will expect a little too much from the commission?
Before I answer that question, I will also ask you a question. How much of the Southeast as a people do you see paying attention to government institutions and their measures and policies? We must not overlook the fact that the average person in the Southeast, outside of the political class and the elite and the economic elite, this thing is not known without. Yes. So there will be the expectation among the is that if the commission wants to make like doing and key into it and help them to excuse for the governors to there will be expectation.
Hello, Prof. Are you
this
there?
commission? There have been. Can you hear me?
I'm losing you momentarily. Couldn't quite make out what you're saying. Your voice kept on dilating at a point. So.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, hello. You can go ahead.
No, what was the last thing so that I key back into that?
Yes, you were trying to make the point about expectations, people who are in government and people who are not within it, politically exposed.
Certainly, there are. There will be people who will say, oh, with this commission now, erosion will disappear. The biggest problem we have, there will be very, I think communication is what will buy the commission a lot of credibility. If he lays out how it wants to proceed and people understand it, if he consults and people are saying, okay, you get back to the space, it will also drive expectations. My suspicion, looking at the composition of the team, is that even if people have high expectations, I believe that this team will deliver on that expectation if the political muscle around them does not become too much for them to handle.
Do you consider this commission an olive branch? Because for some time now, it looks like the Southeast may have adopted the position of sitting down and watching what is happening at the center without necessarily really making an attempt to be part of it in terms of their emotional disposition and even their political dispositions.
Well, yes, we can call it that. You see, when people speak of the Southeast as marginalized, they are only touching the surface. How long did it take to build the second Niger bridge? How long? It was spoken about for nearly 40 years. Finally, it's been built. I know that at the time it was being built, when finally they said it was going to be built, it will be a PPP. In other words, that whoever built it will set up toll gate and recover his money. At that time, there was no toll gate anywhere in the country. So the only place you have toll gate is the bridge leading into Igbo land. They will pay for their own bridge. Now, look at, there's this complaint, the controversy buying land in Lagos. If there's a port in Calabar, active, the one in Port Harcourt, active, Igbos will not be all over Lagos. If there are federal establishments in the Southeast, people will come to Igbo land to live. Tell me what you'll be looking for in the Southeast right now. But if an annex of the NNPC is there, you must come there to work, even if you're from the moon. So the commission, no, let's not even bring in the commission. So with the commission in place, let us hope that, okay, this is another way of making some of this money there available to the Southeast. But it will still not remove the fact that the Southeast is consciously, deliberately, and sustainably marginalizing the overall national economy. Goods you can bring into Calabar Port and get into core Igbo land in 3-4 hours. It's taken to Lagos. It takes you 5 hours to even get to Ijebode. It takes you a day plus to bring it to Onitsha. That doesn't need to happen. That does not need to happen. You take the resources, check the taxes and everything that gets paid in Lagos, how much of it is not done by business. Those are some of the things to consider at the level of governorship and political leadership while the commission is doing its job. So with all due respect, there's a lot of political illiteracy in the way our political elite handle themselves in the Nigerian state. You get your budget allocation, you build roads, and is that development? Is the Southeast developing? How many of the governors are in good terms with each other? Are they working in synergy? The forum, are they funding and managing their forum? So let's pray that the commission becomes a redemptive platform which will not quarrel with anybody, but work with everybody to deliver good governance, service delivery, and development for the Southeast.
All right, so now that you touched on the issue of buying land in the Southeast, since we're talking about Southeast development, two things I will ask you as we wrap up the program. What's your opinion on the issue of the claim that indeed we don't sell land to non-Igbos? If you respond to that, I have another. I
already addressed that on a TV program on Arise in response to Ruben. No, it is not correct. Even the example he gave of T.O.S. Benson, Tos Benson said he quoted or claimed that Tos Benson said he wanted to buy land for his daughter and wife, and they told him, no, we don't sell land to strangers, to non-Igbos. The community donated land to Tos Benson because it was their in-law. That's number one. Number two, and most critically, land. Your daughter is let's suppose you're from Katsina. Is your daughter, and your wife is from Jigawa, is your daughter from Jigawa or Katsina? So you find the entire narrative is dubious. Why would a man say he's coming to his in-laws to buy land for his daughter and his wife? Is it to relocate them there? So the whole thing doesn't even arise. And when you look around you, the same place, first I say they gave him land. Second, the former, what's his name now? Mr. Aki, yeah. The former director of works of Futo. He's a Yoruba man. He's living in his own house in Owerri. He's a farmer there. He's resident. What is this street off Douglas Road? I don't remember the name now. It was named after a Yoruba man who owned most of the land in the place. You go to Enugu. So it is factually incorrect. Why it seems to be true is that when you look at the population of non-Igbos who own property, it's not high. You forget that there's no need for you to come and own property in a place where nothing is happening. You forget that when the railways were working, I grew up in Umuahia. Most of you could see people from every part of the country who were resident either in the railway quarters or in what do you call it, or in town, and who owned houses. There are no federal high-profile economic engagements there to warrant a high population of non-indigents. The cattle seller comes there, sells his cow, and goes away. Before, when I was growing up in primary school, they were not like that. Mohammed Bako was my friend. His father was a cattle dealer. They lived in Uyo Street in Umuahia, settled in their own house in the 70s. Today, the trains were bringing cattle. Today, there's no train bringing cattle anymore, so people can walk around with it. So many factors are responsible. What I will conclude with on this question is, move NNPC to the southeast, right? Move the headquarters of just 3 government agencies to the southeast. The scramble for land there will be a matter of life and death. The volume of infrastructure and banking will be totally different.
Absolutely. So the second one will be your thoughts on the tax reform bills that have now become controversial before the National Assembly. Do you think the claim by the North that it will impoverish them is true? And I've just seen that the Senate caucus of the Southeast Senate caucus are saying that they are adopting a wider consultation stance. So what's your take on it? We have about 3 minutes to go.
Oh, we need less than that. I was in Kaduna yesterday on the tax reform bill for a stakeholder meeting with the North. Fortunately, they took time to study the bill before we came, and they discovered to their shock that it was not against the North. Sheikh Gumi, you know Gumi, spoke. Then what's this professor from ABU? Took time to explain the breakdown, the details. Then one of the traditional rulers, I don't want to name him, who came for the event, after he got up and took the microphone and said he's glad he came. That, look, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I came here with a different mindset because I've been told that this thing is designed against us. Now I'm looking for which aspect of it is against us. So what I will tell you today here is that, this was yesterday, on Saturday rather, what I will tell you is that I will now make it my duty to go meet other traditional rulers. We need to get together. People are misleading our people. Nobody read the bill and they are talking about it being against, and they said so many other things. If it encourages you to produce, the more you produce, the more you earn. But that narrative is not gathering momentum because the truth of the contents of the bill are emerging progressively. And that's why also it's commendable that the Minister of Information has also started, it's going around. There'll be one, there was one in the north, there'll be one in the southeast, a lot of people. The good news here is that even if there's something bad in it, it is now being brought to be discussed such that whatever will be the final copy that will be passed into law will not carry any clause or elements that any section of the country will find not to be in its interest.
And on that note, I have to thank you so much, Professor Oke Ikechukwu, the Executive Director, Specs Academy, Abuja. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much, and my apologies that my video couldn't...
no problem. We'll have many other times when your fine face will be seen on video. Thank you so much, Professor Ikechukwu.
Thank you. All right, bye.
And that's the Eastern Eye for tonight. Thank you for watching, and up next will be our program, Nka, of course, with Rochelle. My name is Alex Obodo. Good night.
And another opportunity for us to gist and me to tell you, bring all the spice, all the things that are hot, trending, and exclusive on social media. Sometimes I know there's constructive criticism. I know that you know how to quote it. So for the people that don't understand, I want to be like, oh, why are you doing this?
Please, I'm not a cross-dresser. I'm only doing this because of